Mountbatten said, well, I'm dispatching a fleet of bombers to do the palace over in Tokyo or wherever it is. And he said, we'll go for your life. So he said, right, they're taken off and they're on their way. And Taruchi said, well, all right, I'll give up. And the plane came down. He was pleading to be sick in bed, but they just took him anyway and grabbed his sword and took him up there, and he had to hand his sword over officially to Mountbatten, of course, but quite a loss of face for them. That was what we were told. How true exactly all of that is, I'm not sure, but it sounded pretty right.
Now, it's often said that if you survived on the line, it was because you had a mate.
Absolutely.
Did you have a mate?
Yep. Jimmy Ward. He's dead now.
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, we had a group of 6 or 8 of us, and we worked together and looked after each other, this sort of thing. And on the odd times that we had a day off, because every now and again, maybe once a month, he'd get a day off, and 4 of us used to play bridge from first thing in the morning or after breakfast, this sort of thing, and go and grab your lunch and have it, but played bridge until it got too dark to see. But I think those sorts of things were quite lifesavers, really. And the 4 blokes, 4 of us that used to play bridge, we were all mates, and we stayed in the group of 8 pretty well the whole time, right up until Jimmy got bad ulcers on his legs, and he went up to he went to Tamuang before us, but picked up with him again when I got up there. But of course he stayed in Thailand until the end of the war.
Yes.
But I just went on a wander with the rest of them. But
your pack of cards must have been fairly worn out at the end.
Slightly. A bit dog-eared.
Digby, going back to the line, when you were on the work parties and so on, how many POWs would have been working in a group at any one time, do you think?
Well, they had a system of what they called kumis, which was virtually a platoon size. We had about 30 people, and those 30 went out as a unit the whole time. And there were in our camp, there would have been of the 3,000 odd, I guess that there would have been something like 2,000 out there at any one time, but all in these small groups.
Guarded by how many people?
Just the one, generally one.
Yeah. Early in the peace, it must have occurred, notwithstanding the harsh conditions and environment, the jungle and all that sort of thing. There must have been a lot of guys who were thinking of overpowering one guard.
Oh yes, yeah, it was debated quite frequently early on in the piece, until we got further into the jungle and saw what you had to try and do. Then of course we learned of the the group who did have a go and were betrayed by the Burmese and were brought back and shot.
Yes, that's
yeah, that had a bit of a calming effect on any thoughts of nicking off, plus the fact that you needed good equipment just to make it, and you needed good clothes, clothes that would stand up to the wear and tear.
Sure.
And if you're not, you might be used in Australia to walking through the bush, but it's a different thing altogether to walking through the jungle.
Well, aware of that. And, now, people were beaten on sometimes regular basis, but not necessarily the same person. Would you have seen a beating, a severe beating, every day, so to speak?
Oh, not every day. You'd see a cup around the ears, or you might get a rifle butt or that sort of thing. But it was, yeah, you would have seen that sort of thing, but a real severe beating, that was that this captain in the 2nd, 3rd, his name was Kennedy, Blackjack Kennedy, John Kennedy. We saw him beaten several times, and they were pathetic. And one of the things that they always tried to do was to, particularly a bloke of your size, was to knock him down. And of course the worst thing you could do was to just stand there, put your feet apart and say, you know, go for your life. And if you were hit, you rolled with it all the time, that sort of thing. But these beatings, they were quite cruel. But as a difference there, when we were ballasting the line, the weather had gone from the wet weather, and it had come into virtually spring weather. It was beautiful weather. And one of the guards, who was, and you can imagine that you had to pick this ballast up, and it was on a bag that was around a bamboo pole that 2 people carried, and you might walk 2 kilometres with it, drop it out, turn around, walk 2 kilometres back. Mind searing, you know, terrible stuff. And this young Jap guard, he was only a youngster, he obviously wanted to get a bit of a suntan. So he stripped off down to his G-string, and he lay down in the sun having a sunbake in one of the gravel pits,